Woo! What's up, party people? This is Chris DeRosen. We've got today a guy who came my way through channels, through places. You don't need to know where, how, or why, but you know what you need to know is that he was one of the many people who come to me looking for coverage on the show. And as you know, I like to do a little random sample out there to see what we find out in the wild, what's new in this zany world that is blockchain. Today, the not-so-zany Alex Varvarenko of ShiftNext. Alex, introduce yourself. Welcome to Bitcoin Uncensored.
Hi, Chris. Yes, thank you very much for having me live. And indeed, I'm a founder of a group of shipping companies with offices in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And indeed, we've founded a blockchain-based project, which is under development. But so far, we have already launched a quite unique Uber-like marketplace for shipping. And we are solving a lot of problems day by day of this complex and very inefficient and very intransparent industry.
Untransparent, yes. So I don't know much about the shipping industry. In fact, I know nothing about the shipping industry. And I'm venturing to guess that many of the people watching this show don't as well. And I'd like to know, I'd like to get to the bottom of why, where, and how blockchain fits into your business. So I guess tell us where you were that day when blockchain showed up and you said, damn it, that's what I need right there. That's what I need. What was that day like and how did that come to you?
You know, it's funny, but you are, quite connected to the shipping industry or shipping sector as such, because 80% of the world trade is moved by sea. So anything you are using, that comes out of Asia or Europe came by sea. And in fact, blockchain in shipping, the most untransparent and very conservative industry, actually solves a lot of problems, starting from transparency, trackability or traceability of goods, various, efficiencies of connections, and corruption. In fact, corruption and fraud are very big problems of any intransparent, untransparent industry. So it's quite at large. It's very hot now. Everybody talks about it, and actually not so many have already started implementing it.
Okay. I know that I am indirectly related to the shipping industry in some senses, certainly. So that's, I guess, unsurprising. But I don't know that we got an answer. Like what, maybe it was the audio issue. Let's try it again. How did you hear about blockchain and how did you know that this is what the shipping industry needed?
Well, we have started digitalizing the first our part of the business, our work in our industry. And we were quite innovative, launched a very unique marketplace back in October. And then we saw that there is so much we are still able to solve, like in transparency of payments, insurance, in transport, and all other aspects related to it. And so we decided just to continue further disruption of the transport industry, and that's how we came to eventually our plan to build a decentralized ecosystem.
Ah, okay. So you had a market. Where is this market now? Is it shipnext.com?
Yeah, shipnext.com. It's basically like Uber in shipping. Sorry to say that word, okay. But it's that.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm looking at the site now. I guess I need a login here. And so you decided that what you needed was decentralization. And at that time, blockchain spoke to you, said, here I am. Decentralization compliance is yours if you blockchain today, and you took that offer up. So tell us how blockchain fits into your business.
Sorry, folks.
So how about this? Let's talk about the technical details. Let's just take a little sidetrack here. The technical details of this project. Let's start with that. So currently you have a database that runs, but the database isn't decentralized. It is centralized.
Yeah.
So you want to decentralize.
Yeah. So what happened?
So tell us about how you intend to achieve that.
Yeah. So what happens in day-to-day life? People are just sending emails randomly. We, as a company, before we started this, we received 10,000 emails a day. So all the shipping and transport related professionals, they spend their day clicking through emails, trying to match their ships to cargo, and it's all transparent. It's based on personal relationship, telephone communication, Skype, chats, and so on. So eventually, we collected all that by building a natural language processing module, which instantly processes all the flowing information. And as it processes those emails, it instantly matches the cargo to the best matching ship, and allows you to make a contract. So at the moment, the platform as such, the marketplace as such, is a centralized marketplace where you can secure a contract, move into an electronic bill of lading, which we're going to execute. An electronic bill of lading signifies that the contract is accomplished or fulfilled, and it sparkles an electronic cryptographic freight transaction. The way we're going to decentralize it, we're going to give this code as an open source code to major players to introduce in their internal supply chains, building around maritime transport into port planning, the land logistics, and then allow different supply chains interact between each other in a decentralized marketplace. You may ask me now, why is shipping so important? Well, it's very easy to...
I will ask you, why is shipment important?
Well, because, as I said, first of all, it was always very untransparent and old-fashioned. But another way to look at it, shipping is very, very slow as a transport. The average speed is about 20 kilometers an hour, 15 miles an hour. While the ship is going alongside and entering a port, it's very important to plan the land transport, because land transport is much faster. It's not impacted by weather factors. So it's very important to actually match a ship to that land transport. So let's put it this way. If you have a perfect working Uber freight solution in the US, you're still unable to use it on an international trade, because you will never connect a perfectly working Uber freight to a shipping or sea freight solution.
Okay. So currently, the way you have it set up is on your servers. And as proposed, you are going to move the programming into capacity that runs on the servers of the shipment companies?
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, if you have Alibaba or Amazon, and they would like to deliver something in,
Okay,
yeah.
Keep going.
So they will always have to find the best shipping solution in real time. Look at it this way: you're using Google Maps, and every time you want to get somewhere, you're always getting the real-time solution on how best, timing-wise or price-wise, to get to a certain location. Nothing like this ever existed in transport, in international transport. So we are going to introduce.
Wait, hold on. You're saying there was no real-time access to ship locations?
There was never, no, locations were always, well, not always, but recently available on real-time, but you never had a real-time connection to the space availability on those. So let's say if the way it was working is if you're using, for example, Booking.com for airline tickets or hotels, you got the price, but you never had the actual tickets or hotel rooms behind that price. So in the best case scenario, you had a quickly generated price, but you never knew, is the ship actually there? Is the truck actually there or not? So that's the problem. And another.
Is that a problem though? I've always wondered this, because I'm not a businessman. I'm just a lowly shock jock on the internet.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that if I did run a business, that I wouldn't want all my competitors knowing my occupancy. I wouldn't want them knowing because the way I would do it, this might be why I'm a bad businessman. I don't know. I would keep that close to the vest. I would be like, you know what? I don't want people knowing what capacities there are, because I may, at my discretion, choose to let other people book first. And then if I have maybe some information about the market, I won't announce my availability until it gets closer to the date of shipment, which I think is what happens with airlines a little bit too. I'm not positive. I think airlines do that. Is that the case in the shipping industry, or no? The shipping industry has wanted to give all of the information and has been unable to do so.
Well, you're in a way right, but but then you're going into speculation. But in fact, you have to look at it this way: the main owners of ships are banks, And you cannot imagine how much fraud there is internationally, trying to screw banks into loans for ships that that are not efficiently managed. And this is why this trillion-dollar industry is suffering everywhere in the world. It's suffering in the US, it's bleeding in Germany and Greece, and it simply needs a lot of changes. And it's not the ship owners who actually decide, it's the banks. The problem is that there's never been so much initiative and so much innovation, because it's very conservative. So to actually disrupt it in a way, we started from disrupting our own shipping company. So to launch ShipNext from day one, all the cargo, or let's say all the requests our clients sent to Varamar as my shipping group, and I did mention to you that it's an international company, so quite a big amount of data there. We simply use this traffic to help them get a match instantly using ShipNext. So without intervention of even my managers. It was quite a big change. The market didn't take it so easily, but it's just inevitable. I mean, either ShipNext or anybody else is going to bring that change. So we are quite far in the process already.
Which change? The change? Which change?
The change to the way things are run.
Yes, yeah, that change. Okay. Right.
But another problem.
Sorry, continue.
Chris, but another problem is that there is a lot of fraud. So let's put it this way: when you're shipping a cargo, you are usually, in the way things are, you're paying in advance. And so, you're paying to a carrier which you don't know where is he going to end up. Is he going to deliver your product? Is he going to damage it on the way? Is he going to go bankrupt and just simply stop the truck or the ship and not deliver it? And you cannot imagine how much money is being lost there. Let alone cargo. There is also bunker or let's say fuel, port charges, and everything else that.
So does this require that all of the gas stations, all of the banks, all of the auditing firms, and the entire industry come on board?
Yes, indeed. That's actually the difficult process of it, and this is why we started from a marketplace, because a marketplace requires all those individual solutions. Like, for example, if you probably heard Ernst Young and Microsoft delivering a solution for insurance. Well, that's an isolated solution. We created a marketplace where we can simply attach that solution as an open code to an environment. It's very important to build this environment, because until we build it, we cannot actually take it decentralized. It requires critical mass, and this is one of the problems of blockchain in supply chain. You need a critical mass. You cannot build a blockchain, an efficient blockchain solution, just basing yourself on one.
Well, who has critical mass now?
Well, I would say no one. It's
And why is that? Because it's not transparent?
It's not transparent. It's actually very diverse. There are thousands, so over 1,500 carriers, 50,000 ships. There are ship owners which have 1 or 2 or 3 ships. There are the largest ones have 200, 250 ships, 300 maybe, but not more. And so indeed, it's a very, very fragmented industry. If you take it to an international scale, there is a 24-hour difference worldwide, different languages, different ways of doing business, and a lot of inefficiencies out there. So this is why we needed to take everybody in one common marketplace.
Right. So how long have you been in the shipping business yourself?
I've been in shipping for 16 years now. And 9 years ago, I started my shipping group, and it's now a group of 6 companies in Hamburg, Paris, Genoa, Odessa, Dubai, Limassol, and Singapore. So.
And what are you guys doing now then? You're already doing a centralized marketplace with those offices, or is that incidental to?
Well, that's basically the shipping group itself that I used to disrupt or let's say transform the shipping industry. So what my shipping company initially does is it's also very diversified. We carry oversized goods such as wind projects. We carry stadiums. We delivered the Oculus building to New York.
You carry stadiums? Somebody carries? Did you say stadiums?
Dismantled stadiums, indeed. Do you know Oculus in New York? The Oculus building.
I do not know the Oculus
This is
building.
that building, the white building that stands close to the two twin towers. The Twin
okay.
Towers. And
You shipped
yeah,
that.
you can search that. So it's in New York, and we delivered it from Italy. We work with General Electric, Siemens, Weatherford, so all the well-known companies. On the other hand, we also carry commodity, grain, fertilizers, coal, and so it's very important actually that we were that diversified, because you can never look at shipping just from one perspective. I mean, you cannot.
Do you share your information now on these shipments? Do you have like a website where can I look right now to see what you're shipping?
ShipNext, and you can see all the information there as well. So my approach to business is, I also have this problem with 30 chartering managers sitting, looking at their screens, reading emails, instead of doing what they should have been doing, because they are professionals. They should be talking to clients. They need all these, new technological tools to make their
/general. Are you concerned that competitors are going to call your clients and offer them more aggressive rates?
When I started this, I actually, do you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I started this, actually, I knew that my clients know my competitors anyway. It's not that made my managers.
Your clients don't like competitors of yours.
Yes, I mean, our major competitors are, let's say, companies in Germany, Denmark, Poland, US. My clients know my main competitors. And I know pretty much why my managers are competitive. It's not because we know something they don't. No, it's other factors. So it was challenging. You're right. I mean, it was challenging, but I also knew that without this, it's a chicken.
I don't know that I have a point. I'm mostly just trying to figure out if I ran a business, I don't know that I want my customers to be shared, but I don't know the shipping business. It may be that in shipping, that's what you want. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean, but it was. I knew that the way things are moving, when somebody else started this, it was be devastating to my business. So I decided to already transform my business, to launch a very disruptive, innovative project, and help my company transform, build an innovative project, build basically a sandbox for the industry. Look at it this way.
Were you sharing this? Were you sharing this data before ShipNext
started?
So
look at it this way. If I was a taxi driver or an owner of two or three cars, and I would be able to start Uber, would I not?
Oh, of course.
Well, this is what I did.
Uber...
So I was a taxi driver, or let's say I had 10 cars or 20 cars, and then suddenly I thought, my God, should I actually compete in Yellow Pages with all the other taxi drivers, or should I, if I can, start an Uber service?
But Uber, it should be said, is a centralized system.
Exactly.
And Uber doesn't share passenger data. And Uber doesn't, even for a given provider, it seems that Uber doesn't share that data.
Yeah.
And it may be that is, you would perhaps, I don't know if you would have us believe that
no,
is an
not
efficiency.
Sharing data. You cannot find personal contact data there. You just see which passengers and how many passengers are available in the world. But, however, they can even hide that information. They don't have to be that open. They have options there to be discreet and just look for the solution. They even have an option to buy our B2B module and just put a replica of ShipNext onto their internal server.
But okay, so before you started ShipNext, were you sharing your customer information on the website?
No, sure not.
No. So then when you started ShipNext, that's when you decided to do that. And it's your belief that all shipping companies will wish to do this?
By now, of course, majority of them send their request to ShipNext itself. And of course, those who were not, look, you have to look at the essence of this. Our clients, when sending us their request, all they want is to get a solution. The usual way for them was to wait hours or days to get that solution. I brought it to them instantly. They just had to continue sending their emails and get an instant solution. Who would be against
you didn't use the blockchain for that?
No, for that we don't need blockchain. No, but we need a blockchain as a centralized solution for a smart contract. Before we do that, we cannot solve all other problems of the transport.
Well, I'm trying to figure out though what's the difference.
Okay.
So currently you can't offer them instant solutions because there's no blockchain, or you're just trying to share the instant solution with others. I'm trying to figure out how the blockchain
I will tell you.
fits into this
so
exactly.
The first use of blockchain here is the smart contract. The electronic bill of lading, the transaction, and the ledger, right? The distributed ledger that allows to integrate people in the ecosystem in an environment, right? In the first instance, it's a centralized environment, but it's still based on smart contracts. We help solve things like insurance, payment, to make a payment more secure and more transparent. I mean, transparent not in the sense that you're letting people know how much you're paying, but transparent in the sense of making sure you're paying to the right party. Once we have that critical mass in the centralized environment, we can decentralize it by building individual supply chains based on your own smart contracts, on your own individual supply chains. When you build yours and some other guy, Peter, builds his and I build mine, we decide to merge. So today the problem is that there is the fact that there is a lot of companies with a lot of assets, and they understand that to be more efficient to fight in this globalized economy, they have to try and merge. So how do you actually merge one company with 100,000 employees and another company with 200,000 employees? You need an algorithm, and it's that algorithm which actually be brought into the industry. They build their supply chain, another company builds their supply chain. But because the algorithm is transparent, just like an Uber, you can have 200 cars or 100 cars. Until you have an algorithm built by Uber, you cannot trust one another. Yeah.
You keep mentioning Uber, and like I think that's great because everybody loves Uber. But it seems like Uber is like the de facto centralized company.
Yes, it is. But
I don't know that.
But once,
just checking.
Once you have and you have a point here. So that's a centralized solution. This is what we are, let's say, today, right? But if Uber decides to join with Lyft, they could, and this is going to be, and maybe there will be a third and a fourth company. So what they will have to bring is, for example, one means of exchange common for all these supply chains, for all these companies, and let go their algorithms in the open as an open source to help to help those drivers and those users of these four companies or three companies interact among each other.
So I think what I'm hearing though is that what blockchain offers is transparency. That's where there was a deficiency in your business.
Yes, exactly, because you had a lot of problems connected to that in transparency. You could be actually fixing or securing a contract on false allegations that you have a ship. You could be chartering that ship, positioning it to load the cargo, collecting the money, and running away. Things like this happen all the time in shipping. And another thing is knowing exactly where your ships fit best. So some companies secure 2 or 3 contracts with having just one ship, just to make sure that they always have a business to run. Things like this, have been penetrating the business, making it very insecure. Another thing, you never know, what will happen when somebody goes bankrupt or where he fails on payments, and at the end your cargo gets stolen or delays. Finally arrives at destination, gets arrested because somebody in the supply chain did not pay his bills or balances, and
I would love to look at like finance data for anybody. Honestly, like I think that would be a wonderful feature to have. Like if we could look into Uber's finances, I think that would be like particularly if you were Lyft, I think that would be useful. And it seems like what's being proposed here is just that, is the ability to see each other's finances.
No, not finances. The movement of assets. That's the transparency.
Okay.
So you know exactly that ship is delivering.
But how would you know then? How would you know whether or not someone's prone to bankruptcy without access to
because
financing?
the way freight is paid, it's paid. It's well, this is our suggestion, right? It's paid in tokens on a escrow, kind of an escrow account.
Okay.
And you collect the
so
money as
yeah.
you, or other parties collect the money as they fulfill their part of the contract.
Okay, so then that's the next thing. Okay, so I was going to ask about the tokens. Okay, so like I was trying to figure out what the need was. I was thinking we'd start there, and it sounds like the need is transparency, and certainly there is a token. At what point did you decide you needed a token? Was the token, I guess, an extension of the transparency, and how does that fit in? And it sounds like you've got that figured out. So let's hear about the tokens.
Yes, well, our solution for tokens is that we secure the exchange rate to $1. $1 is one ship token. And
really?
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting. I like that very much. Okay, cool.
And we let banks issue those tokens. So look at it this way: they're
that's
more like
excellent. Okay.
So we are not the issuer of tokens. It's just a means of exchange, a more secure exchange. So what happens today?
So hold on. I want to just, I'm a little slow. I want to also share this with the audience at our pace. So there will be collateralized dollars offered through these tokens. So these are effectively, okay. So these are asset backed. So which bank are you partnered with currently to offer that?
Let me first, complete my first part, right? So, banks are given an opportunity to issue tokens. And today's problem is that some companies face themselves in front of a dilemma whether to choose an FOB contract or a CNF contract. The difference is in the delivery price, and it's a lot of assets you have to freeze on your carrier's account until that product is delivered. Well, with the tokens, the token system we introduce is that the bank places a token, which is a sort of obligation to pay on an escrow account, and it's being spent along the way as cargo is being delivered or as the product being delivered. Those service providers that get that token can immediately exchange it back into fiat currency as they want. The banks that you're asking me about banks. Well, in fact, we already partner with companies like large companies. Let's not put their names on air, but for us,
why not?
Well, I'm not sure. They're in the process of integrating. They will make these announcements soon, and I will.
Okay, but you have banking relationships that will be collateralizing.
No, I have a relationship with large
obligations.
international industrial companies that are transferring onto ShipNext as a more secure and efficient way of managing their assets, managing their relationship with their service providers, and eventually making their payments more secure. So what happens is...
But hold on, I wanted to understand where it sounds like in order to ensure funds delivery, there would be obligations issued redeemable for fiat, presumably dollars, and that those funds would be available in escrow of an agency that was a bank. Is that true?
Yes.
Or I'm trying to...
Yes. So,
okay, and that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's big.
So the industrial
that's
company...
real big. But then I'd like to know which bank has agreed to that.
I can't tell you that yet, because...
but it does exist, and that is a relationship.
No, at the moment we have not secured the relationship with any particular bank because it's a chicken and egg situation. Their client,
I was going to say that's a hard problem, and it's exciting if you did it. And I'd love to see you do it. I'm just not sure that's easy because every time we've tried in this space, the banks usually,
there are a lot of there are a lot of new ideas already being implemented. I don't know if you heard about Santander Bank. They actually connected their IBAN number to a crypto transaction.
Yeah, that's different than issuing obligations because you're effectively issuing debt, right? And then it'll be and like that's okay and good, but generally there's a lot of difficulties there is what we've seen. Like Tether, most famously has been struggling with this. It's if you can crack that nut, it's awesome. And everybody wants that done. And maybe you're the guy to do it. I just wasn't sure if you did it already.
And, of course, it's not only the banks. We have to talk to, we are talking to the P&I or insurance companies to You're talking to shippers, carriers, ports. There are some ports that already know and are waiting for us to execute the first electronic bill of lading before they.
But does the entirety of this require though like that to work? I'm trying to understand how the tokens fit into things, because like the tokens are just dollars.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
And they're just dollars, but they're issued by, rather than like, they're issued by a bank, but the bank hasn't happened yet. So then if the banking relationship's sour or prove difficult, does that negate the proposition, or are there backup plans? I'm trying to figure out how the token, like what is the token? Like what does it do?
A token is an obligation to pay. It's like it's like you go to a casino, right? You place you place your money on your bank account or on the casino's cashier desk, and you get tokens, and you carry them around safely because they are they take less space. So this is kind of same kind of an idea, right? And
well, who's the casino then?
But because
the casino's not the bank, it's you.
The problem is that the fiat, the actual currency transactions are not as easy to execute as a crypto transaction because you need a lot of paperwork. You have to present a lot of documents. In a blockchain environment, all the document is quite transparent. You see exactly the ship you are loading it on. You see its history, whether it has called sanctioned countries or not. So you can present all that, but banks have to connect. How do you connect a fiat currency that goes to numerous banks, dozens of people with a lot of paperwork, to a automated or digital solution? You need tokens. So that's the idea behind our ship token.
Okay. So we needed the transparency. And because of that, we needed the token so we could validate that the funds are available, and the tokens are going to represent a obligation from a bank, and that's to be determined still. Now, you are going to have an ICO?
This is one of the ways to raise funds, indeed. And we do have a security token for that purpose, a security token which would allow us to sell a share of our company revenue in exchange for funding.
Okay, so we have a security token. That's good. And the security token is different than the pre-mentioned token. Yes, exactly. So what does the security token do? It's called Shipcoin. You buy a part of the revenue of the company. We get a share of transactions that are done on blockchain or smart contracts, and that share is distributed among our investors. They can also buy or acquire services from ShipNext, and also benefit from other revenue that we gain, because we are also implementing our supply chain solutions into large industrial groups. Okay, so it's, I guess, a share of profit then, and then
yes.
How is profit determined? How in this system are you making money?
ShipNext as such is making money from through the subscription and through a percentage share, 1% of transactions that happen within this ecosystem or within this marketplace in the first place.
Okay, so then
not the ecosystem, sorry, the marketplace.
What is the profit margin in the shipping industry currently?
That's a good question, because I can tell you that the chain between the actual ship owner and the cargo owner is very large sometimes. It can be up to 10 companies. It can be a forwarder going to a broker dealing with a carrier who is a speculator, a carrier going to the other brokers to find the ship, and so on and so on. And the cargo owner can have other intermediaries between them. So you can have up to 10 to 15% of your revenue or more lost as a result of this transparency. Sometimes it's it's almost double the freight, double the transport cost.
The profit margin is double the transport cost? Okay. Interesting.
It's because of
the profit margin of who then? Of the shipment organizers, and this would come, and then this 1% would come out of that amount, or this
No,
1%? Like, where is this 1%?
Because we are transparent, we transparently connect the cargo and the ship owner or their direct exclusive representatives. I mean, look at it this way: any marketplace in the world has been built for traders and professionals, right? Professional traders or brokers. And this is our approach. We are not cutting out brokers necessarily. There are owners who are not so keen to get into the trading process. They need an exclusive representative. But there are also other brokers who just recirculate ships, recirculate cargo. They do copy-paste procedures the whole day long until they finally get their bait.
Okay, so that 1% goes to Shipnext then, and then the tokens are a percentage of that 1%?
Coins, the ship coins, the security tokens we have, offer a percentage of that amount, yes, of that revenue.
And what percentage does it offer?
It's in total is 20%.
20% of the 1%. Okay. Gotcha. And that's delivered in what amount?
Well,
that's delivered like in dollars, or that's delivered in like
know our revenue.
Is it right? But like, is it? How do they receive that check in the mail?
Well, they can always change it or sell it back to us. So it's a convertible share. Convertible.
Hold on. So you give that, you pay that back in the ship tokens itself, or in like Ethereum, or in Bitcoin, or in like a check?
No, in fiat currency too.
In fiat currency too. Okay. Gotcha. And
you see
the
value of our security token, Shipcoin, would increase as the ecosystem. It's the environment. There are thousands of companies. The more get into the space, the more value the security would have. So we would, of course, welcome anybody who would like to trade or exchange the coins or the security tokens and let others invest. Look at it as shares, regular company.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that these are shares.
Yeah, basically.
And so that's cool.
Yeah.
Because they can buy shares in the venture.
Yeah. And this is why
for
us it's easy to reply to a question as to whether we can sell equity. Yes, we are also looking at the possibility of having equity partners.
So they're non-equity shares, but they're like shares issued on the profits, and then you're also going to offer equity shares.
Yes.
Okay.
But they are not as easy
Gotcha.
to be convertible and tradable. Yeah. So.
Okay. And what exchanges have you partnered with?
We're not there yet. Actually, my partner is talking more to exchanges. He would be more, capable of telling you about that. I'm really full of conferences and not trade shows and personal meetings with industrial companies. So we actually have not stayed at one city over 2 days in the last 5 months. So you've got me now in Ukraine, and already tomorrow I'm going to Singapore and India, and then further east. So it's been a while since that travel.
Okay. Well, I told you I'd take 40 minutes of your time. I wanted to hear about what the business was about, and I think we got some baseline functions here. I'm real excited to hear about that collateral fiat token. That sounds extremely useful. I'm hoping that comes through. I think the entire industry wants that, and if you manage to crack that nut, it's good stuff.
Well, Chris, for me, if you are in this very conservative business and you start something like this, you are on a very thin line between crashing your reputation and delivering a change to the industry. And so for me, it was very important to actually build something before I did my first fundraise. So I used my money to build a very innovative or innovative product first, because people would simply not believe that I was capable of doing something others failed. I disrupted the way my company does. That was another step forward. And that trust has been gained. Now I go into a more in a further decentralization. So this is why it has been a successful for us so far.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can people find out more about you?
They can follow us on Telegram and chat with me personally, or go to shipnext.io or .com and get all our contact data there.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, bud.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh man, oh man. You know, I get that all these people that want to come on the show, and like I don't know if that's necessarily the most compelling content or not, but they want to come on the show. I want to have them, see what they've got to offer. And you know, I'm watching the encroachment of these offerings as they just kind of march up against the line and then over the line and then flatten the line and then just keep on going. And I don't know, that ShipNext, they're gonna revolutionize all the shipping things, and we shall see what happens there. It's a you know, the risks of that. I mean, it's just de facto shares, I suppose. I don't think he seemed very bashful about that. There was a time when that was a sensitive issue. It appears that time has passed. I feel like, you know, I feel like these things need to be chronicled. I see things constantly now, and I'm realizing that you guys are the audience. Like, you don't always see what I see. And it's hard for me to share all that stuff with you. And then it's kind of weird because, like, then I have to, like, you know, then I talk about the dialogue on Twitter and elsewhere as it stands, which may be opaque to you guys. So I don't know. That is a sample of the ICO pitch in 2018. You know, this notion of like decentralization, it's great. I'm very curious if you know, like we saw in various movements that like these terms, the brands don't get protected. And as a result, everybody leverages the virtue of the brand. And at this point, it seems as if decentralization still carries weight. It seems as if when you go in a room and you say decentralization, that brand has been secured. But when you're issuing obligations from banks as tokens, is that decentralized? I don't know. The market will decide. Seems like the term means a lot less than it once did. Could be wrong. I went to the NABC, asked people what decentralization was. The answer was not centralized. There you go. That's a tenet of the belief. Oish. You know, I'm also wondering too, like, transparency as a virtue was clearly very successful throughout 13, really 13, I think, when it started. It was weird because, like, I came into Bitcoin and like transparency was never why I came. Quite the opposite. And all these people showed up, and like the truth is that like the first principle was making money, and when asked why it was that they were doing what they were doing, they couldn't create a virtue out of that first principle. So it was almost like post hoc discovery of transparency as a virtue. Fine, everyone ran with that. Factum securitized transparency. It was on the front page of The Economist with this innovation. And we still see that carrying weight now. I've been skeptical that anybody wants that. But what's certain is that people bring that to others' attention and are well received. So that meme has proven its mimetic ability. Going into 2018, I'm wondering if that mimetic traction will continue, if that's still going to be the case. And it's interesting because like Bitcoin definitely offers transparency now as a advantage that I think is probably worth brandishing. But then on the other side of things, you've got like the Monero proposition, which is the opposite. It is not transparent. And there is a class of blockchainers who want to invest in non-transparency, which makes a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. That doesn't necessarily mean it will pimp, you know, because the virtue isn't there. But it could just as easily be there. Like the virtue as it is like as much how you deliver the message in some cases. Like, it's not transparent. It isn't transparent. What's nice is it's not transparent. Like, that could just be the virtue, is the conviction in the presentation. Like, the optics of this goes such a far way sometimes. It's amazing. Because, like, if you, like, I never would have guessed that transparency would have been mimetic. I would have been like, why? And yet I saw it happen. And then I think that a big part of it was men in suits made it happen. They showed up as quote unquote professionals and delivered this with a straight face and conviction, and others followed. And it's like very similar to how shame works. Like the belief was ingrained absent reason by way of presentation. And I don't know if that'll happen with fungibility or not, but I could see it happening. It'd be very interesting to see that happen, because like it really demonstrates the arbitrariness of a lot of these things, especially when like it's perfunctory virtue, it should be said, which is like the near entirety of the modern world now. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but it did. That's been interesting to watch. I have to say I do like it because it empowers people in ways that they probably never were able to, and it's frustrating when you're on the opposite side of that. But it's very satisfying when you're on like the perfunctory as acceptance side. And I like to introduce it with irony, because like in my suspicion, it is through irony that like we know like to what degree does Chris DeRose profit? And the answer is to the degree that it's fun. And that's like everyone can get behind that. It's when you do it in a way that's like personally enriching that ultimately the virtue catches up, the lack of virtue catches up with you. I don't know. I recognize this is way up here talk. I don't know where Alex is on this. I would always presume higher, because like I want to be low, and we shall see. But yeah, we got a great tip from Tao Jones today. Thanks, bud. I've had a number of offers to like sponsor the show lately, which has just been so kind, like so fucking kind. And it's a very, you know, like the Ship Next was not paid for in any way. That was not something that I was enriched at, other than as a sample. To be clear, you'll know it when it's paid. And I don't know that I even want to do paid. In fact, I'm going to run a test on Bill Fottle, awesome guys, because they're awesome guys. And we're going to take a look at it and see if this is responsible. And if it is, we'll give them a little run because they're awesome. And then maybe we'll charge for that. I don't know. I have to say the Patreon people have just really supported the show in full. It's just been wonderful. And like there's people here asking for Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash donations. And it's just been like so hard to take donations now. Like it's really funny because like, so here's the thing about Monero too that I like. The god Monetas is itself buttressing the greater god that is Bitcoin. And like and to either like Fluffy Pony's credit or whose credit, I don't know, that was a design of Monero. So like the profanity of Monero is minimal. Like it is at the service of the greater god, of the honey badger, that Monero exists. And I like that. I think that's a great ethos. I think that the reason why Bitcoin Cash was so profane is because it was at antagonism to the great god of the honey badger. And so like I was talking in one of my like private channels with some people that do meetup groups and such, and like people were kind of wondering like what really is like the right way to handle Bitcoin Cash versus Core, because like it's just the antagonism is great. And like what I like particularly if I run for president of Bitcoin, is that I would serve the greater, like I would make it a play on the ambiguity of Bitcoin in a way that comports with the morality of those that hate cash, and in a way that acknowledges the proposition of like a morality in a way that like achieves at least compassion from the Bitcoin Cash side, which is a very hard skill to do, and I'm still learning it. It requires like a really good understanding of like what the morals are of these communities. I don't know how to like convey that to other meetup organizers yet. I'm thinking about it. Like the problem too is like when you codify the rules, you've like declared a delineation that needs to be argued. So it's almost better undiscussed, which I get. You know, like rules should exist when, like ideally rules should exist when needed. So like if you come in like into a group and you declare, this is completely tangential, but this is farts time. If you're here, great. So like the rules in a chat room don't need to be declared up front, other than like a very minimal capacity. And then when issues arise, then you declare the rule because you are acting at a position of reluctance. The optics of that situation are such that it was a need-based assessment. You as a reluctant leader came to rescue as asked the group. And so I don't know how to deal with that just yet on like these Bitcoin groups. But I've got some ideas. As president, I think what I would do is lead by example in these issues. So like today, okay, cutting to maybe a chase, as the commander-in-chief of blockchain feminism, I was asked to de-risk an issue by somebody. It was not something that I wanted to de-risk. I was asked to de-risk the issue. And I forgot the hows and whys of it. But it was, let me see if I can find from DeRose. Hold on, from DeRose. If you want to see some fun tweets, you can always look from DeRose with the word command in it. These are the commands that the commander issues. This is what he's asked to do, and this is what he will do. Yeah. More and more guys are working from home. It is part of the reason for this. IT is part of the reason for this. When you're working at home and you have kids, you become the caregiver. Will this affect demographics? Should feminists be applauding this? So this is the stay-at-home dad question. And I thought about it. I bridged the gap, covered both sides of the aisle. I issued an edict, a command that's up for challenge. Someone wants to challenge it. I'm very open to it. I don't want to be a tyrant about it, but we need a ruling. So I issued a ruling. It is my command that the feminist dads should be applauded. I then issued that command to a number of my subordinate feminists, Meltem, Neha, LJXIE, Laura Shin, Arkalenia, who will implement the command. And it's a reasonable command, so I don't see it being challenged, but I certainly, thanks, Cece. I certainly welcome any comments that anybody has. And I'm just going to start issuing commands when they're reasonable, when people ask me to. Because as a commander, I think that's what you need to do. Again, I think we need to have a vote of some kind. I'm trying to find out who wants to run in the election. I don't want to go unopposed, but if through the benevolence of the community, nobody happens to rise to the challenge, then I will. I need to look into my American history a bit more. I need to see if George Washington was, I think he was a reluctant leader. Was George Washington opposed or not? I would just emulate it off of the standards that have already been defined before us. So I got to look into the history a little bit. Maybe someone wants to come on the show and discuss the very first election of the United States. I think that'd be a great show, actually, where we can learn, and then we just emulate it. We'd be well, we don't know what's reasonable, but this is what the decentralized 13 colonies did, and we would imagine that we would want Bitcoin to be as successful as America has been, and so we would have a similar approach. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, this isn't very decentralized. And that's a reasonable concern. And I have a very simple answer. The president is just a figurehead position. We all know this. There are checks and balances in the system to prevent tyrannical oppression. And those checks and balances clearly exist. So it's a figurehead role. Keep that in mind. This is not a king. This is a president. Big difference. What else do we have? Any questions for the channel? Thanks again, Tal. What is Patreon, Jerry? Yeah, I mean, so the Patreon helps so much. I got recurring costs. One of the big problems with Bitcoin, is obviously there's no recurring payments, and that's a feature, really, but it kind of hurts sometimes. So, I got to keep the lights on, I got to keep the the room up, etc. And so the Patreon is a recurring billing system. It uses the fiat blockchain. It uses Visa tokens and MasterCard tokens and Amex tokens, but it keeps things running, and I'm so appreciative of that. I do try to put as much exclusive content as I can there, depending on what's going on. That is more or less, and I probably could be better about that. But really, it's mostly it's mostly partners here that help this thing go. Right now, I support myself in various ways. Obviously, I have varying investments. I treat this like a job as best I can, and like a business as best I can. I don't necessarily treat it like it's a propaganda station, even though it might be at times sometimes, but I do it for us. I do it for the Patreon community. I do it for the crypto community. The degree to which we promote positive messages is always considered. I like to grow the show more. People want to have co-hosts and they want to do stuff, and I agree it would be great to do, but that requires money to come in. And we're at a nice point of stasis at the moment. We don't need that. But to take it to the next level, that would be obviously appreciated. I'm not asking for money from you guys necessarily. I'm obviously, adding to the Patreon amount is much appreciated. I do think they need to investigate sponsorship options. My concern with sponsorships is that like the allegiances change a bit, but like I think you just have to manage it, you know? Like I don't like the Bill Fodl guys, for example. Like if anybody has a problem with Bill Fodl, let me know. They seem to be like a good product. If there's a scandal there, I'd like to know. I think other wallets in the space are great. You know who I haven't promoted that I really like? Hold on. Digital Bitbox. I've been meaning to like do a like review or something because these guys are great, and this is an awesome wallet. And I really like never, you know, I'm gonna put this over here so that in the future I do a little advertising for them maybe. But like these are good products. Like we do want to build a community up, you know. Everyone needs a hardware wallet. The question of which one, and there are many options. And anyways, this is basic shit. I don't know. I gotta get to work. I don't know what other shows I have this week, but I know I have a bunch of stuff coming up. Some are really good, even like. I'll surprise you. Anyways, that was a weird show today. I don't know. Tell me what you think about it. I think this is one of those ones that like, it's going to go in to the YouTube blockchain. And then one day I'm going to wake up and it's going to pop. And I'll be like, whoa, 10,000 views overnight. What the fuck happened? And then, you know, we'll find out something happened. I could see that happening. That's why I like to do some of these also. I pick and choose. This one seemed like it would be, what's the word? An investment. We'll see. All right, guys. Peace out, party people. Wait, what do we have here? Don't you think in this day and age, you can't get to the second level without buying fake views on YouTube? Ryan, great question, Ryan. I've always resisted fake views, with the one exception of buying fake views for Drop Lister's show, wherein I thought it was hilarious to buy him like 10,000 or 50,000 views overnight for no fucking reason, just to see what would happen. And we did that a while back in the BU days. But yeah, I don't, it just seems scammy. You know, I'm constantly trying to figure out like what the ethics of things are here. Like you look at people in the space that really burn out fast, like they burn hot, they burn fast, they're just out. And like, I don't want to be that guy. There's a community aspect here that I take very seriously. I want to be a member of the community. I don't want to be a pariah. And so I feel like, yeah, buying views, it just doesn't strike. It's just like, it's not right. I mean, here's the thing too. Like I get the ability to take these moral discussions on because my pedigree and history has been relatively clean. It's not perfect. I've made mistakes, but my actions have been pretty decent. And so I don't want to lose that privilege. And so I think that I'd be compromising it with purchase views. I think. Also, here's another thing too. I have to say, I value the statistics. Like that's something that, I mean, I know that in blockchain, everything should be public, but I get some private stuff that I find very interesting. I like to know the demographics. I don't even mind sharing it with you guys. Like maybe I should do that on the Patreon and make that an exclusive thing. Like, okay, guys, here's who this is appealing to. But I don't want like my competitors to see that. And I'd love to see theirs, but like, that's, you know, how the economy works. Like, you know, we keep some things private so that we can profit off those. In this case, I get to see like, you know, what the real representation of blockchain is. And you guys do too in the form of like views and such, but yeah. Anyway, so those are reasons why I don't buy the views. It may be that impacts my performance, but it just seems to be what I'm comfortable with. I'm constantly trying to balance like what it is I am and what it is I do. Am I a shill? Am I a Bitcoiner? Am I a journalist? And like it's all things in balance, you know, and it just seems out of balance. I should do a post ICO bubble burst scenarios episode. That's a great idea. It's a little premature still. I'm waiting for the thing is that the entirety of the space depends on when the hammer falls on regulations. And if it never falls, then blockchain will take over the earth and we would have just, that'll be that. If it does fall, then we have to figure out where, how, and what the ramifications are. So I think it's a bit premature to do like an ICO thing because it seems that the SEC has said that there is a room for the ICOs in their regulatory structure. So if that's the case, that's even kind of cool because like given some clarity there, I can see value to the ICO model in significantly different terms than what we've been offered by and large here in the space. And I think everyone wants guidance. Like given the rule, like investors want to see this work, pitchmen want to see this work. And if the SEC wants to see this work, then all we need is like some basic guidelines and then everyone's going to try. Like that's how regulations generally work. You just like set up a play field, and then there's a line of scrimmage, and the battles start, and we get places. So I think the American public too, like definitely millennials, they want to invest in companies. It gives one way to view markets is that it polls the population for what it thinks it needs and wants. And in many ways, even if the investments don't pan out, it shows where the market believes there is action. So it could be said that millennials have been tapped out of the US stock market for whatever reasons. And in these ICO models, we then have the ability to poll millennials to see what kinds of things they want. And that would be kind of cool. I think that the regulations might have been overblown in the Frank Dodd era, and this gives us a bit of a reboot there. But like the risks are so great right now. It's just hard to really see anything traction wise. In any case, thanks everybody. Thanks Tao, very very much. I will see you later on.